He'll have to interpret the accents for you.
Yeah. Okay, welcome to Randolph and Martin's Sports Talk, Friday night on Sportanarium. We've got a who's who tonight from West Wales. It's the Grand Slam special, obviously for this weekend. First of all, we've got Roy Bergiers, ex-British Lion, Wales, Llanelli centre. Best centre to come out of Carmarthen, bar none, Simpson. He's synonymous for scoring the winning try against the All Blacks in the 70s. Welcome, Roy. How are you doing?
Great, Steve. Nice to see all the lads here. Yeah. Man, I'm very pleased I got more hair than some of them.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm wearing a cap after looking at your hair. Up next, we got Steff Thomas, again, another Welsh international, played at full back, also played in Llanelli, Cardiff, and Newport in his time back in the 1990s when he started. All right, Justin, how you doing?
Yeah, very good, Stephen. Nice to catch up with you boys. It's been a while since I've seen a chance to catch up with you. Also, great to get together and talk rugby.
Yes. It's the best time to talk about rugby when Wales are winning every week. Next up, we got the three. It's unusual. Normally, most of the guys I know are backs, but luckily we got a couple of forwards in here today as well. Just to spice it up a little bit, I'll have some knowledge from the forwards. But so the last back that we've got, we've had him on a couple of times, Darren Simpson, another centre. Hails himself as the best centre out of Carmarthen, but I think there's a couple who dispute that. Played for Wales under 20s, Bergiers, Neath. How you doing, Darren? You all right?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Randolph. Yeah, good to be here.
Good. Next up, we've got three from the management. First up, we've got Steff Thomas. Also was a player in his day. One of the forwards. Had a spell managing the Wales Sevens team in the World Series a few years back. He's now the team manager of Carmarthen Quins in the Welsh Premiership. Coming up to 450 games in charge, so he's got some knowledge to impart with us. How you doing, Steff? Sitting in your bar?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Looking forward to having a good catch up with everybody. Nice to see a few familiar faces during these troubled times. So looking forward to having a good chat.
Where's that bar? You look like you're on a beach in the West Indies.
No, unfortunately not. It's just a picture.
Looks like a plume of feathers. It's similar to plume of feathers, small.
Actually, it is a bar, but I can't really say because this is being recorded, so I'm going to keep my quiet.
Okay, next up we got Gareth Bennet. I had to write this one down because he's played for so many clubs. Obviously, he's coaching now with Whitland. They're in Division 1 down in South Wales. Played for Dunvant, Carmarthen Athletic, Llandyfri. I think you were you a second row when you started, but then moved into the back row later on?
The way around.
Is there a time delay with Gareth?
Tried to stay in the back row, but obviously not fast enough. It was heavy legs.
But he's in management as well now, so that's another one we've got. And then last but not least, we've got an old mate of mine, Kevin Jones, represented Wales District when I was still living in Wales. Carmarthen Athletic, Tumble, and then came back to play with the Quins when he was a bit slower and older. And then went to become team manager of them for a bit as well. So we got three managers in. Just a quick question, Kev. Obviously I'd moved up to England by then. When you came back and started playing with the Quins, after being an athletic boy, what was your old man like with that?
Oh, right.
Was he?
Yeah, good, very good, yeah. He's come to the park, I think, about an hour before kickoff, we'll have to pay to get in. So
He was always like that.
Just watch the game and bring the kids and watch the game, yeah.
Okay, as I say, the top host there with the microphone in front of his face is Martin. He's up from North Wales. If you were wondering, Mart, all these boys, they all know each other. Roy used to teach four of us in secondary school. Kev, as I said, I've known Kev since I was 2 years old. We lived by each other and grew up together. Justin, who played for Wales at full back, we used to play cricket together. And him and Steff were in school together, and Simpson and Bennett were in school together. So everyone knows each other and all went on to do good things in in the sporting, in the sporting world. What we normally do is we normally start off with, with the backs, talking about how well the backs have played in the last few weeks. But what we'll do this week, we'll go to the management first, and we'll have a chat with the main question really for Gareth or Steff or Kev. Team selection for that last game. There's two ways you can go. You can either go with momentum and pick the same team as you've picked for the last 3 weeks, just to keep that momentum going. But you're playing against a team that hasn't won for 6 years. You've got a massive game coming up, probably going to be for the Grand Slam against France. What would you have done as a case of, Faletau had played for his club, Bigger was carrying a slight knock. There was another one as well. Francis was having a slight knock. Would you have given them a rest, or would you have played them like the Welsh management picked? If you say come to Gareth first.
Obviously, I would have gone with the same side that they went with. It was momentum. They were going forward, and you put your stronger side out. And what they did then, after 50, 60 minutes, they pulled the boys off, wrapped them in cotton wool, ready for France this week. And I think it was the best thing to do, because it put us on the front foot straight away. Everyone knows the systems, and everyone knows what the players are doing, to be honest. So I would have gone with the same sort of side, personally.
Okay, Kev?
Yeah, same thing as Gar for me. Momentum's key in championship, things like this. So for me, it's not injury. Pick your best squad of 23. I think with the English boys going back, I don't think Bigger played last week, or Zamet didn't play either. They weren't involved either. I know Faletau played, but I think, bad injury, pick your best squad, and pick your momentum's key going to every game.
Steff?
Yeah, I think the boys have covered off momentum, but I think another thing is, obviously with the new coaching team here, they've had a difficult spell in the autumn internationals, and building belief as well in everything they do, in all the systems as well, and getting good confidence in that. So I think it was important really to, again, link it back into the momentum, but the belief in it all, and the whole confidence in the environment, I think, and keeping that going. I think once the juggernaut starts going, then it's going to, they got some potential to get back to where they were perhaps in the last couple of seasons, because they did that. There's no doubt about it. The autumn was a very, very dodgy spell, and people will question whether Pivac was the right man for the job, and they.
Yeah, 100%. As a player, would you have, and if you've been playing for 3 or 4 weeks, would you be exactly the same? Would you definitely want to be playing in every single game, or would you fancy a rest?
No, 100%. You want to play. Boys sit up on momentum. You're looking at combinations as well. So obviously Gareth was a different start at 9. So you're a new combination halfback, which is never great when you're chopping and changing your halfbacks. There's a new centre partnership. So John was short of game time in the centre anyway. George North was only played there a handful of times. So
yeah.
I'm sure Ray will talk more about that. But they looked like they were starting to get a combination going, understand the game a little bit better. Liam Williams is just started back in a full back. He's only played 2-3 games there. So the more time they get together, the more they can play together, the more they can sort of iron out those small little things that make a massive difference at international level.
Sims?
I made some changes, personally. I had a rest for a few boys. No, with Faletau, people like that, if they get injured, it was a risk to take. And I think they've been playing in England when the Welsh boys have been resting. So plays like Faletau and Bigger are rested them, yeah.
Yeah, I'll come to Roy in a second. I was thinking about it before coming on. Momentum's definitely key. I agree with all the guys that have come on that, but it is a risk. It's not a big risk, but when you're playing against a team that say they haven't won, so it's but as Gareth pointed out, the good point was I think Alan Wynne was off after 45-50 minutes. So a bit of a run around. But if you've got 2 weeks without playing, and you know your system, you're practicing for that week and a half. You're wrapped up in cotton wool anyway. It's a 50-50 really, isn't it? But it paid off because a lot of them, I think most of them are back on the bench after 45-50 minutes with no injuries. So it paid off. What do you think, Roy?
Yeah, I go with the majority there. I think you have to have stability
Yeah.
Because most players have not had game time, and match fitness is very important with that. And the only way you're doing that is playing on the park. And as has been highlighted, the new combinations, playing together, getting the systems working again, I think is a good idea, especially these days when you've got the bench to work and come on and give them a bit of time themselves. So yeah, I would have gone for it. Johnny Fox needed some game time at inside centre. He's normally an outside centre, and as Darren knows, it's a slightly different game. And he had to get some game time there with George as well. So yeah, I think it panned out well.
Okay, if we come on to the forwards first, then keep chopping and changing. Sims, I don't know what you're doing with your screen. You're starting off from the top left. You just keep moving around.
I'm not doing anything. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I say it did give the opportunity to rest players at half time and so on. So it was it worked in the end. But with the how do you think the front row played, Gareth? With obviously it's not a strong side, and coming into a massive pack that France have got. How do you think the front row got on?
I think they do really well, to be fair. I mean, as Wyn Jones is doing it, he's anchoring that scrum really, really well. Ken is doing what Ken does. Do you mean the cannonball Ken? He was superb on the weekend. It'd be interesting to see if anybody did have him down for a hat trick of tries. I think it did come through on Twitter. It was 80-1 for Ken to have a hat trick. But I think Francis, he's not playing first choice with Exeter. He's coming off the bench. But for Wales, he seems to be the best tight end we've got, because Samson Lee's out injured at the minute. I mean, so I think it's going really well with them. I mean, the scrum's going well, and they're carrying as well. I mean, we still got likes of Rob Evans as well. They're coming back from injury, so strength and depth isn't too bad.
Yeah. What did you think, Steff? You played in the front row in your time, didn't you?
Yeah, I done a few shifts at Hooker, yeah.
I'm not on about Saturday nights, I'm on about in the day.
I teed you up for that one.
Yeah, you did.
No, I think, to be fair, last week the front row did very well. It's very difficult to gauge what they were up against. And as the boys have said already, they were off early doors. But what does concern me going into this week's game is the quality coming off the bench and how strong they are, because France have got 6 very, very good front rowers, and I'm not too sure how Rhys Carre in particular is if selected on the bench, how he's going to front up, because if it's going to be a close game, a one-score game, then those sort of things are going to be vital, sort of how the bench scrimmage later on in the game. So for me, that's going to be a big thing.
Yes, yeah, no, I agree. I think Brown's come off the bench and he's played pretty well. But yeah, Carre, I don't know. He plays well for his club, but it's a big jump. It's a big jump up to international level. What are your thoughts on that, Roy?
Yeah, that's been a concern all through the autumn, is finding a front row that plays well together and can hold their own, to be honest. And I think we found a front three at the moment, but as you say, that depth, the young props, and give them another couple of years and they're going to be good. But at the moment, I think they lack that experience. And they're up against some strong props in the other countries, and especially France. They're mobile, they're big, they're massive. That is a concern of mine anyway. What you call it? The other reserve hooker, he's proved himself okay. Yeah, and Ryan's below him. He's been a bit unfortunate not to get in, but we're okay there. But with all the injuries around, we are, dare I say, struggling at a front row. Steff would know, and Gareth would know a lot better than me. Yeah, I was only caught at the bottom of rucks and that sort of thing, and I only played prop in sevens. But the knowledge of what goes on there, when you've got to play in the front row to really know what's happening there. Yep.
So if we move on to the second row then, Gareth, obviously Alan Wynne, he's superb in every game. He just seems, he's like Benjamin Button. He just doesn't seem to be getting any older. He's all over the park, and same against, no, obviously he was only on for 45, 50 minutes, but he was superb again. And obviously you've got the two, Hill and Ball. Who would you choose to partner him in the vital game?
I go with Beard. Beard is he was unlucky not to play last weekend. I think he's brought something different. But at the same time, you could look at Jake Ball. I know he's going at the end of the year, but Jake Ball is a grunter. He does what he does. He gets the hard yards. And against France, with the size of their pack, I mean, I think it'd be a good shout to go with Jake Ball up there alongside Alan Wynne.
What do you think of that, Kev?
Yeah, I think I'll go Adam Beard. I think Adam Beard was rested last week with the comments he made. He said he got battered and bruised the 2 games he'd had. And he brought Corey Hill in, but I think he'll go back with Adam Beard, and I think he'll go Corey Hill on the bench. That's the only change I can see in the side, to be honest.
It's a good problem to have there. 3 or 4 good choices there, haven't they? What do you think, Sims?
Yeah, I think they'll go Beard and Alan Wynne. I'd like to see, as you said, Jake Ball being on the bench, because he does bring up, he hits rucks and things like that, and you need that physicality against France.
He's a barnstormer with 20 minutes to go, isn't he? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, back row. Tipperick seemed to be getting a load of line-out ball, more than anybody else. Did you find that a bit surprising, Benny? Or do you think it'll be a bit predictable if they do the same against France?
He's a ball player, isn't he, Tipperick? I mean, he likes the ball in his hands, and I think he's become one of the key line-out forwards for Wales. I mean, in Bath, it's Faratau doing Tipperick's job. I mean, but it seems they need to get his spot on against France, because otherwise it's going to be a long afternoon. I mean, Scotland on Sunday didn't win a line-out or most majority of the game. So if you can't get your set piece right, I think it's key. One big thing with the Faratau and Tipperick, I think they've only given away something like 5 penalties since 2020. I mean, and that's the discipline is key with the back row. If you give away penalties, you're out the game. But and Navidi, well, he's class act. I mean, he does all the donkey work that a 6.5 does. I mean, you get Faratau and Tipperick to be able to run around.
Yeah, he's massive 2 games he's had since he's come back, and obviously he's got game time in the back row. They're just improving all the time. Obviously Faratau with his injury last year, he's getting better and better, and he seems to be all over the park as well. What do you think of the back row performances, Steff?
To be fair, I think Roy said earlier the back row have established themselves now. They've found a balance there. The one thing is, as you were saying, they've got to have a line-out option in the back row, it's definitely Tipperick, and I think he's done an excellent job there, to be fair. I think he's probably been a little bit underrated in the last couple of games, because he does so much work, so much excellent work, to be fair to him. But yeah, my main concern is I don't see anybody pushing those back 3, and I think if you have 1 or 2 bumps in the back row, I'm not too sure if the form is beneath them. There's plenty of players there, but I'm not too sure how much form is beneath them at the moment.
Yeah, just on the back row.
Yeah, mute just.
So I think we agree with Steff. I think Aaron Wainwright is short of time at number 8. He's not playing number 8 for his club. He's playing blindside, so he looked rusty at number 8 on the weekend when pressure came on a little bit. I'm sure France are going to target our set piece, especially our scrum. So we're going to have to be sharp around the base of the scrum. I think making sure that if the pressure does come on, and they will attack it, because that's what the French teams do, try and disrupt your front. So yeah, hopefully the back row can step up and get us going forward, because that's the biggest thing I think that's changed with Welsh teams is the front 5. That's been the biggest improvement. Is our scrum is all of a sudden becoming much better. We're actually winning our own line-up ball, and our catch and drive has been outstanding, probably the best in the championship so far. So for me, it's been the platform, and I think a lot of lot of credit has to go to John Humphreys and some of the senior players to turn that around. Because through the Gatland era, we've always struggled a little bit at scrum time. Our line has been appalling. So I think everyone understands that the game is one up front. So it'll be one up in front against France on Saturday as well.
If we come to the backs then, Roy, we haven't got a scrum half in the midst. So Justin, you were out at half and full backs.
Just the one game for Philly against Neath in the novel.
Yeah, it was one game for a reason.
We didn't have a scrum half on the bench, that's why.
Yeah. So I personally thought that Hardy was missed. I know we got an abundance of scrum halves, Davis, Williams, but I thought Hardy was missed. I thought his quick ball was missed. That was my opinion. Davis played well, but I just thought that the going forward with the forwards was great, but then it was slowed down slightly by Gareth Davis with the absence of Hardy. What did you think, Roy?
I've liked Kieran over the years. Believe it or not, he partnered Dan all the way through the age groups. Kev, we've seen a lot of him over the years. He's always had a wonderful service. One perhaps little criticism of him earlier on, and he's improved that game, is he can run and he wasn't running enough. And now taking the pressure off the outside half, but he's developed that side of his game now, which is superb. And sorry, I'm just reading what's down below there.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Darren? Well,
you got free porn, haven't you?
Yeah. I thought Gareth Davis played a lot better on Saturday. I think he's had a kick up the backside and his service was a bit better. What I do like about Gareth is his work rate, his tackling, his defence and his movement around the park. Yeah, he needs to improve his high kicking into the box. It's come in at how can I say, he has worked on his service, but just it still needs a lot more work. Yeah, I think with both of them involved on the bench, that was a good idea. So who he's going to pick on Saturday on the bench is another. Oh, hang on, what's forgotten? Who's on the bench now with?
Lloyd Williams.
Oh, Lloyd, yeah. Lloyd's always had a good service, very similar. In fact, I think we're blessed for quite a few scrum halves at the moment, but yeah, we need speed of service out to Bigger, so Bigger can choose. Even Bigger improved his game on Saturday. We've got to look at the opposition, mind. They weren't all that strong. But I think a few of them have had a kick up the backside and think, oh, the place isn't certainly theirs, But there we are.
Yeah, Bigger did seem to look like he was playing for his place, didn't he? Because Sheedy's right up his arse now, I think.
Yeah.
What did you think, Kev?
Yeah, I thought Gareth had a good game at 9 goals, though. I think if Kieran had been fit, Kieran would have started for his performance against England. But I think on Saturday, I think this coming Saturday, I think Gareth will start. I think Thomas Williams will be on the bench, personally. And I think Thomas Williams will come on and have an impact in the game against France. I can't see him starting his injury, but I know he's been declared fit today, so I think Gareth will start. Like I say, I think Gareth might have had a kick up the back, but I think Gareth had a good game Saturday.
Yeah. Outside half, Justin. Sheedy, Bigger.
100%. You start with Dan Bigger. His game management is outstanding. Doesn't get flustered. His kicking game is excellent. Decision making is excellent. Especially, it's getting better as well as the packer going forward. He's getting front football, and his passing game has come to his own now because he's starting to attack the line as well. So, how good Sheedy's playing. Sheedy's probably game management is not quite as good as Dan's. So he's a great option to come off the bench with 20 minutes to go when the game opens up a little bit. But yeah, I think we've got the best of both worlds here with Bigger starting and Sheedy coming on.
Yeah, you've got to go with stability, haven't you? He's got everything. His kicking game. He's the go-to to take the conversions and penalties. Now Halfpenny's not there, so yeah, I agree. It's a no-brainer. But Sheedy's a fantastic option to have coming on with 20 minutes, half an hour to go. He makes things happen. So if you're behind, especially when you're looking at the French halfbacks, you know, they've looked superb for all the way through the tournament. I know Darren likes Sheedy. What's your opinion, Star?
I would have started Sheedy against Italy, but yeah, I agree that Dan Biggar is a man for Saturday, and he'll steady the ship and kick to the corners, and he's got a good kicking game. So hopefully, he can, as Justin said, really, he'll dictate the game for us. Really, isn't he? He's on front football, so yeah, I think he'll start on Saturday. Well, definitely he'll start on Saturday, won't he?
So centres then, Roy. You've got Foxy, who's only come back from injury. You know, Halaholo's knocking on the door on the bench.
Yeah, he's obviously one for the future. I think with Foxy, I think he needs game time even at outside centre. But he was getting into the game as he was an experienced Saturday. As defence was sound, because on occasions I felt in previous games he was tending to grab up top rather than going in, but that improved. Alalo, inexperienced, gave away a few penalties when he came on Saturday. That's not a big criticism of him. It's a youngster finding his way on the park and the speed of the game, etc. But I'd go for Johnny, and I was a bit critical of George North at outside centre when he got selected, and but I must say he's played all right there. He hasn't been put under pressure, but he's taken his chances and he's running at the opposition, which is good. It's good. So I choose those two. I don't. The Ospreys centre. Sorry, forgotten his name.
Watkins.
Watkins. I think he's been unlucky. I think it'd be nice against France to have a bit more experience. He's a solid guy. I would have brought him in. I know Johnny Scarlett's centre. He's still injured, Kev, is he? I think.
Yeah, he's been coming back, and he from an injury, and he just needs game time, doesn't he?
That's right. I would have selected him if he was available. On the bench, that is.
But not, we spoke about this a few weeks ago, Roy, about North, playing in the centre, but he's definitely, he's got better and better and better. We were both, critical of him, a few weeks back, surprised that he was in there when you've got, purpose-built centres in there. But yeah, no, he's definitely.
As Darren knows, George North played a centre at the age levels, international rugby, but it's a different thing when you move up to adult rugby. The pace is that much quicker, speed of thought, etc. And he hasn't played at senior level much at centre, but if he played, he's fitted in okay there. So can't criticise him for that.
Darren, would you have picked a specialised centre rather than Foxy playing out of position?
Yeah, I was a bit worried about John Fox playing at 12 originally. As Roy said, it's a big difference between 12 and 13, especially defensively as well. So, but he's a man of the series, near lie and things like that. He's got plenty of experience to do it. So I'm just worried about really we haven't got I'd like to see a ball play in 12, and him and North aren't that kind of. We haven't got that kind of distribution up in the centres really, have we? So moving on, I think I'd like to see a ball playing 12 if North is going to stay at 13, but definitely for Saturday, John Fox is the man to do the job. Yeah,
that's a real issue we've got in Wales. You identify a ball playing 12. I think we've moved away from ball playing 12s. We've gone into
Watkins,
size and strength centres. If you look through all sort of regions, even the academies. Some of the youngsters coming through the academies of World 20 as well.
I know me and Darren have had these talks about it, and me and Darren the same thing. I like to see, I think Jared Evans or Patch, I'd go play at 12. I think they've both got the attributes of ball playing to them. In the centres in Wales at the moment, we're struggling. I don't think Tompkins has come Saracens, and everyone's thought he was going to be the next thing KO from Hartley Pass when he was gone, but he hasn't materialised. I don't think what we thought he was going to be like. We are struggling for centres in Wales at the moment.
I think one player who I got a lot of faith in is Ben Thomas in Cardiff Blues. That he reminds me a little bit. It's not fair to make comparisons, but like a Gareth Bennet type player. He could play 10, 12, 15. I think he has a ball playing 12. I think he's definitely somebody who's got loads of potential. But that's all it is at the moment.
How old is he, Steff?
I think he's only 20 years of age at the moment. So he's just in the breakthrough. He played Cardiff Premiership a lot last year. Obviously, academy player. He has played first team this year. I think he played 10 for Cardiff a fortnight ago and run the show for them, to be fair. So, to step in at 10 as a 20-year-old and run the show when he's been playing centre quite a bit shows he's got quite a bit of talent. So I definitely think he'd be somebody who won't be far away from the squad in time to come.
Yes, it does. It doesn't look very strong in the centre position, as we had before with Parks, and there's been a lot of good combinations with Foxy, but there doesn't seem to be much depth there. Obviously, you're mentioning those guys, but they're on the fringe, aren't they? They're not going to come in, and play in the Six Nations like what Zamet's done. Zamet's only 20, but he's been knocking on the door for a couple of years, playing in the English Prem, and he's just transferred it straight into international rugby. There's not much you can say about Zamet, really. We had last week, we had Jamie Henthorne on, and he's a 10.2 meter sprinter, 100 meter sprinter. So he's like nearly a second quicker than Zamet. And he was saying that if he's only 20 and he looks like a runner, he doesn't look like he's running a pace. He just looks like Michael Johnson running. He's upright. He just doesn't look like a sprinter. And to see him, there was a point in the game where he ran, they gave him 50, 60 meters to run, and he went away from Hogg, who was no slouch, but he just didn't look like he was making any effort. Bit like you, Kev, at full back.
Oh, yeah. He spent a bit of time on command and track.
The speed he had coming into the line, Steve, was marvellous, I tell you. You couldn't keep up with him.
Say that again, Kev.
I live by the track, but never scored it.
Kev, the only machine you used that was near the track was the vending machine, and that was in the leisure centre.
Harsh, Kev, a bit harsh that is.
Adams coming back. What did you think of his performance, Just?
Yeah, I think he's looked really sharp. He's one of those players that actually suits international rugby really well, and goes looking for work. He's gutsy, he gets stuck in, he's good into the high ball now. And sometimes some players fit into international rugby better than they do at club rugby. Warburton was one of those players. Played more for Wales than he played for the Blues. So I think he's just a natural international player. And I think if he keeps playing the way he is, I think he'll be a dead cert for the Lions selection. We need a big game from him on Saturday. France do kick a lot out of their own half, so you need to be really good in the air.
Bit of a strange one. The try that wasn't a try. Not touch it. It's for me from the front angle looking down. You can't. It's like an optical illusion. You couldn't tell whether he put it down or not. So for them to give the decision, he's over the line and he hadn't put it down. I couldn't see any angle where you could say for definite that it hadn't hit the floor. I just thought it was really strange.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. The game is so fast at that level that it's the difference from club level to international level. The game is so quick, like Roy was saying it on, that like things happen in like split seconds, and it takes you a while to get up to speed on that. And it was just a great. To be fair, it was great defending. To be fair, the guy to get back and put pressure on not to get the ball down in the first place. So I think one thing I think Stephen Jones will see them lucky once you get to close the line dive. I think that'll be a bit of feedback and a bit of banter in camp this week.
Oh, he'll have had some stick for that. Definitely had some stick for that. What did he think of that, Roy?
He scores tries, doesn't he?
Yeah. Oh, he scores tries every game. Yeah.
His try record for Wales is phenomenal at the moment.
Yeah, he's a finisher. He's an out-and-out finisher, isn't he? As Justin said, he goes looking for the ball. You see him at the edge of the rucks, and he takes the high ball really well. The kick from hand from number 10. That's always an option with Adams, and that hasn't really been the case with Zamet compared to Adams. He's much better with a higher ball. I think one thing to say about Zamet is people have been saying, oh, you know, he hasn't been tested in defence, but in the last 2 games, he's made quite a few good tackles. He's shown a bit of mettle for a 20-year-old at international level.
And I think the back line defence has been excellent. Once you watch the last 3 games, you've had North in a 13. And if you look back at Wales the last 5 years, we've had wingers jamming in, you know, crazy. You know, Cuthbert has been named after him when someone jams in and doesn't make a tackle. Our push defence from North and John Davis and Zamet has been excellent. There's been times when we've really have been struggling 4-2 against us, and we're just going to slow push across the field. So defence, I think, has been impressive in midfield and on the wings. They've worked really tight as a unit together.
I think there's only been one minor hiccup in there. I think George North, Scotland, when he came out the line, and that's been the only blip really of the back's defence. It's been really good in it. So. Yeah.
But if you look, Steve, who he's been up against, right? He has been against Van der Merwe, right, and James Lowe, right, Island Scotland, so huge men.
Yeah.
So, and you know, I've watched Van der Merwe play a lot for Edinburgh, right, and he is he's a monster of a man, huge guy. So he's done really, really well.
Yeah.
To be up against them too.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he has been tested, and he's as you say, he's 20 years old. You know, he's been playing. He's been lighting it up in England. There's been loads of rave reviews up here in the last 12 months, and you know he was pushing for it last year at 19. So you know he's run with the ball, and he's done well. On the defensive side with the what's his name, Vakatoa, he's come back in the centre, and Fiku. You know they looked unbelievable against England. Do you think we're going to be okay against them, Sims?
Yeah, well, they're going to have to work harder this week. The big men with the French, aren't they? So, as I said, John Davis got plenty of experience here, isn't he? But as I said earlier, the worry is that defensively as a 12 is totally different to defending as a 13. So it's there is a bit of a concern here that, but yeah.
That's why I'm happy that I think Dan Bigger's defence, fair play to him, he'll go up and tackle and he'll block that inside channel. And that helps the inside centre then. You're confident that the inside man has been got, you know. Yeah. You're talking about Zamet. I must say, he's been up against Johnny May as well in the England match. Didn't see Johnny May in that game, you know, and Van der Merwe, etc. And I like his positioning. You know, he's confident in his speed, can push the man outside. He's not going to beat me on the outside. I'm faster than him. So yeah, I think he's got that inbuilt confidence. Sorry, I'm going off for the.
No, fine.
Sam's question for you. Do you know, with regards to Johnny Fox and George North with building a defence, if you were attacking against them, looking for opportunities attacking, what do you think? George North's inside shoulder.
Yeah, definitely. That's where you got to attack, you know.
Yeah. And that's what I think.
And I think Sean Edwards will know that, and that's maybe we will target him on Saturday.
Yeah, that's what I think we're vulnerable at the moment, is inside shoulder on 13 probably, because both of them are going to be looking to get out as quickly as they can, and they.
No, Jalabert has been outstanding, you know, and Dupont. You've got to try and stop them as well. I think we've got the back row, Navidi, to stop, you know, Dupont in his tracks. But Jalabert had a fantastic game again. He's been playing outstanding. So like Intermac, has he been injured? That's how Jalbert's got in.
He's on the bench.
Originally, yeah, I think, but Intermac is back now, isn't he?
He's back, yeah.
Back.
Yeah, he won't get in though. Will he be on the bench? What do you think of his performances, Just?
Yeah, again, you know, it all comes back to whether your front five on front foot. You know, if you give the French front foot off their scrum line out, you know, they're going to cause havoc. They did last weekend. They cut the team enough a line out with set piece move. I just think we've got to push. I think we take out the fact that George might get stood up and just tell George to push one across. I think we've got to be a bit clever in defence. So, you know, do we go push tips out straight away, push Dan out? We just go really soft push. That allows George to push out early, and then because John Davis is fantastic in defence as a centre. He's really intelligent. I think that's his strongest part of his game. I think he has the ability and the brains to cover two players, and he can do that picture really well. So I think take George out of the picture, just tell him to push, They'll just do a nice, easy, soft push on them. And you can't give the French the outside channels, otherwise they'll cut your shreds.
I think it'll be their backs that make a difference. With the forwards, I think the stats, I think they only won one more, the French, last weekend. England won 9. And all the possession, the territory, 60% was England. The possession was nearly 50-50. And it was the first game for Wales where, and obviously it's against Italy, but we actually had some time in the 22. Because when I was talking to Roy a few weeks ago, we played a couple of games, 2 or 3 games, and we'd only spent 4 minutes in the opposition's 22. Well, yeah, granted, we'd scored 7 or 8 tries because of the finishing, but there was no territory whatsoever, which, you know, you can't have that against France, because if they're in our half, they're going to score tries. With their back line, again, they might not turn up. They might be awful. But there's no crowd there to get on their back. So that's probably an advantage for France against us.
What I feel, Steve, is you got to get in their faces at base, as you don't allow them start moving and have the continuity game, because even the forwards, they got lovely ball handlers and they come from deep, hitting that line, and you've got to stop them at source.
What do you think of their forwards, Benny, compared to ours? What would be our weaknesses against them?
Big, isn't it? They're big boys. I mean, it's and they've even got players like Wookie to come off the bench and things like that. I mean, they get big players. So we mentioned that their front 6, so they're starting in the replacements. They're huge. I mean, so we got to get a level playing field with them, and it's going to be a tough afternoon. But I mean, if we can get the front foot, then our backs play. If the French get it, then Duport is going to absolutely rip all sides to shreds. I mean, he's class act. I just hoping that we can tie them up with the driving mauls and things like that, so we can get some clarity.
Well, they've had a brutal game against England as well, where we had pretty easy ride against Italy, so that might make a difference. And they've, like Justin said earlier on about match fitness, or Roy did. They must have lost a little bit of match fitness, not being able to train and being stuck in a hotel for a couple of weeks. You could see it in the England side with Vinopolo and a couple of those guys that they haven't had much game time, and you could see they're gradually getting back. So France have only played 1 game in the last 3 to 4 weeks. So I think that showed in the last 20 minutes of the England game. That's how they came back, because they were pretty dominant for quite a bit of the first half. What do you think, Steff, on the forward side?
As Benny said, physicality is the big one, really. I think that's going to determine the outcome of the game, and it sounds obvious, really, but who's going to win the collisions? But the biggest thing is, I think everybody said it, the set piece. If we can get parity in the set piece, then we'll get a foothold in the game. But if we struggle, like we have done earlier in the championship, in the line out and scrum a little bit and showing a bit of frailty out in France, then it could be a tougher game than what we're expecting it to be. So I think we got to be on the money there. The improvements were there last week. We just got to sustain those improvements, really. And if we can do that, we'll be up for it. So
what do you think the score will be then? What are your predictions? We start with Steff. On my screen, you're probably all different in different positions. Steff, what are your predictions?
I'm going to go 24-20 to Wales.
As close as that, yeah?
Yeah.
Benny? You need to start playing for Wi-Fi, Benny. You're still on dial-up.
25-16 Wales.
Okay, Darren?
26-20 Wales. And start believing, boys. Grand slam.
What do you think, Roy?
I'll go 25-19 Wales.
So everybody's so far
in between everybody.
Kev?
It'll be a sour 31-18 France.
Oh, okay, I was going there as well.
Only because I think France, they get a chance of winning championship as well. They're capable of scoring 4 tries. And they'll have Scotland home as well, won't they? So, I don't know. Will Sean Edwards factored as well? I don't know. I just see France dominating this one, I'm right. Sorry.
Cheers, Kev. Just?
I'll flip that for Kev. I'll go 31-18 to Wales. I think as long as our set piece stands up, front five, we win our line of ball, we get our driving ball going. I think front football, we're playing all the confidence. We're scoring tries. We haven't scored that many tries for 10 years. So I think, yeah, if we can click, it's on.
Mart?
Yeah, it's the first time in ages I've been watching and really enjoying seeing us score tries, and the backs, like that back three is just playing so well as a unit in the last game especially. I'm going to say like maybe 24-6. So I'm calculating in my head just like last week. I really struggled.
Yeah,
with
a
this
try
mental
is five.
arithmetic
A try is five.
Right, 7.
And when they kick it over the post after a try, it's 2, Mart, yeah?
Oh, I thought if you kicked it over the post, it's a goal kick. Sorry, guys, North Whaley. Sorry, we're taking the mic. North Whaley, but
Where in North Wales is he from?
Sunny Rail, mate. Sunny bloody Rail, the scourge of everyone's summer
my
holidays. God, yeah, I know.
Oh my God. It's really,
Someone's got to be from there, aren't they?
yeah.
I'm going to go one score up to Wales, something like 21-15. It'll be a close game, I think. One interesting stat that I read this week: if we win the Grand Slam, or we win the championship, we actually overtake England to 40 championships to 39, including when there's been a tie. But England are ahead on outright wins, but we'll overtake them. I think it's 40-39. So to be more successful, the only thing that they can come back with then is that they've won a World Cup, which they do in football. There's no other comebacks. So that's a big incentive to get up on them. 1 week to go then. Apart from obviously the France-Scotland game, if we look ahead to the Lions, starting off with the full back, I know everybody's got Hogg's name on there. What are your thoughts?
I think Liam Williams, I've been texting Stephen every week to say, for God's sake, get Liam at fullback. I think he's been one of the other key important parts of the team, because teams are now kicking to us, and rather than us kicking the ball back like halfpenny, we're now counter-attacking and we're now playing pressure on other teams because we're keeping the ball. I think Liam Williams all day long nailed it. I think Cog is a great guy to have on the bench. Come on, you can cover centre, you can play wing, you can fall back. Love Liam Williams. I'd have him tattooed on my arm actually if I could.
I wouldn't go that far, but I'd agree with you. At the beginning of the championship, I was talking to Roy, and Hogg was nailed on. But I think with a high ball, playing against South Africa, I'd go the same. There's no other choice for me. Hogg's going to be on the tour as well. Well, calling it a tour. From what I've heard, it might even be in the UK. So we'll have to wait and see. What do you think, Kev?
Yeah, same with Leicester. I think Liam and Hogg nailed on too. I think if this was Steff, if Gatland had a list of 50 players before the tournament started, I think that list has probably been ripped up after the Autumn Internationals, because a lot more Welsh boys, Scottish boys have put their names in the hat now after the Six Nations. So there might be a few surprise calls there in the squad. Maybe a few guys who aren't playing international rugby might get on it as well. But for me, like just said, Hogg and Liam at the moment.
Okay. Wingers then, Sims. You can only choose 4. Who would you go with?
It's a tough one now. Zammit, I reckon.
Easy for Sims, come on.
Zammit will go. Josh Adams will go. Well, won't go being Britain, I think. I reckon. And I think Liam Williams could be classed as a winger, maybe not full back for the Lions. And I believe that he's asked for a tattoo of Justin on his ass, but I'm not sure if that's
Come on, Derek, boy, see? I
think you go Liam Williams on a wing, and I think you pick Hogg the full back, and Josh Adams could be another winger.
So who else would you go for? Obviously, you got May, Earls, Maitland, Van der Merwe. Watson's been playing well.
Yeah, Watson's been playing well. Yeah, I go Watson as well.
I thought Lowe's been good, but I think he let himself
defensively,
down.
He's poor, he's low.
He let himself down.
He actually, you could name him Cuthbert, because his defence is like all over the place. You can't see what's going on. He's in, he's out, shake it all about.
And Gatland likes his big wingers, mine as well. So Vandermeer could be one from Scotland, isn't he? So
he's played well every game. He's played well every game. What do you think, Ryan?
I don't think Johnny May will go. I think Zamet's way ahead of him personally.
Yeah, I agree there.
The two Welsh boys, Josh Zamet, and two Englishmen. I put Johnny May in. Basically, he hasn't had the luck of the feed of the ball. It hasn't gone out wide. Van der Merwe, he's a big lump, and my opinion of big lumps is you've got a good defence and you can take him down quite easily. So, yeah, that's me, that is. But I'd go for those four.
Yeah, because Watson's, if you're picking someone that's not a big lump, then Watson's very elusive, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
Especially if it depends on what style of game you're going to play. If you're going to play, they're going to kick, we're going to counter attack, then you can have Watson in your back three, Williams and Hogg. So it depends. It's not just about individual positions, it's about how you set your back three. So do you want your back three to counter attack together as a unit, or do you want them just to kick and chase again? So again, if you're going to kick and chase, you might as well have half penny fullback because you'll kick the goals when you test match. Whereas I think Liam Williams, if they're going to counter attack, which I hope they do, that changes your back three sort of.
Yeah, I think Hogg is a bit suspect in the defence, as you saw with the high ball on Saturday, and his tackling. I think Zamet danced around him in the Scottish game, and yeah, he's a brilliant runner, absolutely brilliant, but against South Africa, you could have a defensive one as well as being able to attack, and that's Liam.
Okay, centres then. Sims?
North, Dragon North will be in the centres. Could be in it. He's been playing well, so I'm not sure. Gary Ringrose Island, class captain.
Gatland loves him as well, doesn't he? Gatland loves George North, doesn't he, as well?
Yeah.
So, could be a utility player.
Yeah, so I was thinking now. Ringrose, the 13 for Ireland's been playing well as well, I think. What did the young boy from Scotland who played against England got injured? The Red Path. He looked a good player. Obviously, he hasn't played a long time now, isn't he? So he looked quality in mine as well. But I can't see him going. But
Chris Harris, he's been playing well for Scotland.
John's boy.
Yeah. You're mentioning guys who've just put their name in the hat, really, because he's been playing well for Scotland because. There's
a lot of talk of Tulagi going, isn't it? But I can't see him going if he hasn't played any international rugby for a while. But who knows?
Oh well, I wouldn't have. As you say, you mentioned Ringrose. You got Henshaw. Henshaw's been playing well. Slade for England's been playing well. Even Hugh Jones, when he came off the bench on Saturday, looked really sharp. I wouldn't have thought North. I know what you're saying about Gatland, so he'll probably end up being on there as a utility back. But I can't see him being a starter against South Africa. He's got too many faults for me. What do you think, Steff, on the centres?
I'm just wondering, knowing Gatland's style and the way he likes to play, whether he'll go for a big physical man. And when you look around, Sims mentioned Tuilagi, but I don't know whether somebody like Bundyaki is there from the Irish boy from Carmarthen, is there, or something like that. I know he's not in the Irish mix at the moment, but I'm sure he's going to want somebody in the 12 channel who can hit it up because that's the way he likes to play, doesn't he? He's very physical. But I just think at the moment, if I was looking at form in the back line as a whole, I think is a bit of a concern, really. I don't see anybody stand out in the centres right across all the four home nations.
I think for me, Henshaw's been probably the standout one for me, more than Ringrose. But there's plenty there to choose from. They've just got to get the right combination. 10. I'm glad actually that we haven't mentioned Owen Farrell in the centre. That's quite amusing because he's not even in the mix at 10. So that's good to get that one out the way. 10 just.
It depends when they take because there's rumours they're going to be taking a smaller squad, so it depends where it's home and away. So it depends. There's talk they're only going to take 2 outside halves and not 3. Try and give them more game time because that was a criticism apparently from the last couple of tours. I wouldn't take Finn Russell, not for a Lions tour. I think Gatland.
Then you got Sexton or Bigger.
I think they'll both go. I think they would potentially both go. So, and then maybe Bigger as well. So it depends whether you got 2 or 3 and how they want to play the game. Again, it depends who's going to be the backs coach as well. So, it's how are you going to come out of the woodwork and pick up a contract? Who's going to be the backs coach?
You wouldn't bet against it, would you?
Hey, well done, son.
Bet that one to him.
There's guys there, right? Maybe like the Marcus Smith, the Joe Simmons of Exeter, the Marcus Smith. Maybe guy that the 10 might be an uncapped player. But Gatland like structured and that's why I can't see, like Just said, Finn Russell is not Gatland's kind of player.
It depends on the squad, doesn't it? If you only got taking 2 10s, then if you're taking 3 10s, you could probably afford, like Bigger was the inexperienced one last time, wasn't he? So yeah, you could take a youngster then and play him midweek and see if he comes on or not. But definitely those boys are definitely good enough. If the pack are going forward, those 2 are 2 attacking themselves.
I can see Farner playing there.
Worst scenario, yeah.
I can't see Gatland picking Farrell, to be fair. Not a 10. Not when you've got, he's not even the 10 there. You've got Ford. 100% same with Justin. I wouldn't take Russell. He just makes too many mistakes. There's no point having a Gascoigne in your team if he's going to be making loads of mistakes. Bigger, Sexton. Sexton's proven to me he would be my choice. He's a go forward. He does everything. He's the same kind of character as Bigger. He's good with the high ball, but I just think that he's stability. They got to go for stability at 10 rather than a loose cannon like Russell.
The interesting thing there for me though is that if you just went with say Dan Bigger and Sexton, neither of those we'd really want coming off the bench, would you? Because they're not going to speed the game up for you and open the game up and play it all.
Like for like in it as well.
Yeah, that's like for like. The only thing that Finn Russell does offer is if you want to mix it up a little bit in your squad and he coming off the bench, he'll give you something different.
It's a shame Sheedy's 12 months away because I'd have taken him before taking Finn Russell.
They might take him if they take 3 halves. They might take him. Yeah. Again, it all depends on what style of rugby you want to play to beat them, because they'll sit around the table and go, right, how are we gonna? They'll back engineer it. So how are we gonna beat them, and then pick the squad off how they're gonna try and play to beat them.
Yeah, no, I agree. 9. Okay, the only scrum half. Then Justin's the only scrum half. He's played 1 game. Who would you take?
I don't think any stood at the moment, is there? No. It's a difficult one. Again, 2 scrum halves, 3. If you're only taking 2 scrum halves, then you're probably going to have to go for experience. If you're taking 3 scrum halves, you can probably take 1 scrum half, maybe that is sort of a wild card. I think you've got to go with experience. First of all, your 2 test scrum halves have got to have experience. Gareth Davis could be that player that comes off the bench. Again, it could be what happens this weekend. Who gets the nod this weekend? If Tom Williams gets the nod and has a stormer, then he could go.
I think Thomas Williams is, if he stayed injury free, I think he's the best scrum half in Britain. Personally, I think he's quality, but his injuries are really letting him down at the moment, isn't it? But I think a fit Thomas Williams would go personally, but can't depend on that at the moment because of his injuries.
So you sat on the fence and you haven't even named anybody.
Say hello?
It's Gatland's like, is Gatland going to go, oh, right, I'm taking Conor Murray and I'm taking maybe Gareth Davis come off the bench, and then if there's a 3rd scrum half, take 1 more, because Gatland will kick out of his own half. They'll put the leather off it. So you're going to go with Conor Murray, probably, if that's the case.
Well, Young's just been playing well.
Yeah. You could have
Young's been playing well, and to be fair, on Saturday, that Gibson Park, who's keeping Murray out of the team, he had a stormer. I thought he played really well.
I think Gatland will, again, it depends on the size of the squad, but I think Gatland will go with experience. You want experienced players in his squad. If it's a smaller squad, if it's a larger squad, then you got more games, the warm-up games, and everything to try and let players play well and sort of come through, because there's always usually 1 or 2 players that are on the fringes of the Lions squad that come through and play really well on the tour and then get in the test team. So there's always those changes that come in, like, from people's Lions teams from 6 months ago to sort of after 6 Nations.
I think I can't remember the exact setup, and Steff might correct me on this, 'cause I think Steph's seen it as well. The if it's in the UK, there's like 5 tests or 4 tests. They're playing Japan. They're playing a couple of country sides, but they don't play. They're not playing club sides. Is that right, Steph?
Yeah, that's my understanding of what I've seen for the draft. If it is in this country, is Japan that they were going to play. So it is. I suppose there's a couple of things that are really interesting. Is if it's going to be home, the makeup of the squad is going to be completely different if it went away, isn't it, as well? Because you've got less time to prepare, and you're only preparing a smaller number of players, and like the Lions tradition, props may take a little bit of a backward step because they usually take players on there to get them into the tradition and blood them early and for future tourists and things like that. But props, that might not happen so much if it's only a home test. And I think the other thing is Gatland's style is going to be a massive influence on it, isn't it? Really.
From what I've seen, they're playing in Tottenham Hotspur's ground, Murrayfield. They're not playing in Ireland. Obviously, they got what I think the 5th test or the 4th test is in the Principality on the. I think it's August the 7th is the final game. But that's obviously a draft. That's if it doesn't happen in South Africa. But it's all up in the air because, as you said, it'd be a totally different kettle of fish if they're playing over here, and whether we'll have crowds by then. There's a lot to influence it. But I think Youngs is pretty much a cert because he's the informed scrum half at the moment for me. But if you go to the back row, Stander, he's announced his retirement today. I haven't really read much about it, but June was mentioned. So is he ruling himself out of the Lions? Anybody?
I felt that Stander wasn't his usual self on Saturday. I didn't think he had a good game. He seemed to be very hesitant. He had the ball doing work, but then in previous years he's been driving forward and crossing the gain line grid, but he was tackled way before that and through that hesitancy. And I don't know whether he thought himself underperforming and that's why he retired. I don't know, but I was concerned about Stander. I've always liked him. Hard man.
There might be some clause in his pension contract that if he retires without being injured, he gets a bigger bonus or something maybe. But
sorry, I think the other 2 games against the Barbers and United States. I might be wrong.
Yeah, French Barbarians in the States, yeah.
So, Benny, Falatau cert?
Yeah, definitely in my eyes.
I think so, yeah. I take Falatau. He's a ball player. He's playing really well. The more game he's playing, the more he's enjoying. He seems to be getting up to the speed with the game. I like Simmons with Exeter. He's uncapped, and there's something about that boy. I like him as an 8. As a wild card, I take him before I take Stander, if I'm honest. He's one for the future.
Gives you options off the bench, doesn't he, as well? There you go. So Simmons can off the bench, start pace the game.
He hasn't played international rugby though, has he? So it's a huge difference, isn't it?
Vinopola, is he still gonna prove himself? Do you think, Benny?
I think it depends what sort of game Gatland wants to play. Yeah, you take Vinopola just because of the ball carrying the skills he can do. But I think Falatau's above him in the pecking order, and then you've got others knocking on the door then as well. I mean, it's the back row's a tough one, especially at 7. I wouldn't like to pick a 7 at the moment with Watson, Tiprick, and Curry.
Watson is Scottish right now.
What are your thoughts, Steph, on the number 8 position?
Yeah, I think Falatau's shoe in at 8 at the moment based on form. Definitely, I think the Scottish 7, Hamish is and definitely playing really well. Tiprick's obviously on well, but there's a few others as well, and Curry's playing well. But I quite like Sam Underhill as well. I know he's been injured a lot, and I reckon that he could easily play 6 Underhill with one of the others there. I think he'll bring a bit of balance. So he's a big man as well, and obviously when you're playing against the South Africans, I think you have to have your biggest 8 men out there as well, most physical 8 men as well, to try and get a bit of power out there.
Well, Curry, Byrne for Ireland, he's been playing well. This is just a massive choice. I think that's the two positions, 6 and 7, where it's names in the hat time because there's so many. Tipperick, I think, he's Navidi. there's just 7 or 8 names there that you could pick really any 3 or 4, and they'll do a job. In that position. Alan Wynne and Itoji, shoe-ins, or what are you looking at with Itoji? Too many mistakes, too many penalties.
I like Ty Byrne myself.
Tyburn.
Yeah, I think those two, I think they're good, honest players. They're well disciplined. Itoji's disciplinary record, and so far, has been awful. Has been awful. I know he plays on the edge, and he's a good player and what have you, but he's not applying himself well at the moment, is he? So it's concern. And I think Ty Byrne has had an outstanding Six Nations, to be fair, in a mediocre Irish team, really, by the standards they've had the last couple of years. Yeah,
well, and Ryan as well, as Kev just mentioned, James Ryan.
Yeah.
There's a few there ahead of. That's his only downfall. He's a fantastic player, but you can't be. 5 or 6 penalties in a game from one player is just, and he didn't even get a card against us which I thought was ridiculous.
The other thing with that, Steve, is as a Saracens player, he hasn't had much rugby this year.
No, same as Vinipola.
Yeah.
I find Itoji is too loose in my eyes, always has been. He fringes, and I think out of South Africa, you need the big boys up front, the ones who won't put the hard yards in.
Yeah.
Itoji is a bit too. He's an athlete. He likes fringing. He likes being offside, and he got caught out against Wales. And he was quiet on Saturday, very quiet.
Yeah,
but let's say Ty Byrne is good. What about the Scottish boy, Johnny Gray?
Yeah, Johnny Gray.
He's had a good stations. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been pretty steady, isn't he? Front 3, Steff.
Maybe Kev should go on this one.
What are you saying? Kev should go on tour?
Neil Islands is there.
Yeah, I think Ken Owens is, to be fair, earned the right to be the number 1-2.
Yeah.
Standout. What goes with Ken? I don't know, to be honest with you. I think probably. Tag Furlong and the tight head's quite different. I think, to be fair to him, Carl Sinclair has played quite well for England, and I thought, he's been very consistent, strong scrum. I think Tag Furlong, the tight head of Ireland, is a good player, and Thomas Francis done well for Wales. So I think they're all pretty close there. I think on the loose end, Wyn Jones has been exceptional. To be fair, a really good tournament. Cian Healy's been consistent. So again, I don't think there's an awful lot between them, but they'd probably go for the biggest, strongest set piece guys when it comes down to the separating them out, I would have thought.
What are your thoughts, Benny?
Yeah, I agree with Steff, to be honest. He named the front 3 there. I like the Cowan Dickey was a backup hooker to Ken, though. I like the Cowan Dickey. He's something about it, something different. I mean, he plays well with Exeter Chiefs. Well, and then when you go to the props, do you mean it's a lot? I mean, there's some boys who are playing really, really well and knocking on the door. Do you mean it's going to be? You could pick any of the test 3. Do you mean it's going to be a tough one? But I think it would be Sinclair, Ken, and Taj Ferdinand from Ireland, obviously.
Gav?
Yeah, like the boy said, Wyn Jones, Ken Owens. Maybe Thomas Francis, I don't know. Ty Furlong. I don't know who's a backup to Ken at the moment, because I think they've all got their issues, the other hookers at the moment as well.
Yeah, well, Jamie George, he hasn't had much game time, and say Cowan Dickey. I'd go with Gara on that. Cowan Dickey's a good. He brings something different. He's a good player. George is just a battering ram, for England, and I don't see him going. He can't even get in the side at the moment. So I don't know. It's a tough one. there isn't much else there. Ken's definitely, he's got to be first choice. There's nothing. He's been outstanding in most of the games, whereas the others, they've been in and out. They haven't cemented their place in the Scottish side or the English side. So you're not gonna take somebody who can't even get in the side. Are there any fringe players who are who aren't in the Test side, up and coming from any others? Benny.
Simmons is probably the one.
I'll rack my brain. Dunn.
Go on, Gar.
No, I was going to say Dunn in Bath. I mean, he's getting a bit over the hill, possibly. I shouldn't say that. I should say that very loosely. But he's uncapped again. I mean, he hasn't been brought into the fray. Just another hooker who puts his body on the line. Prop wise, I think the Test ones are there. They're the ones that they'll be the first back in order, if I'm honest.
Anything up and coming, Steff, that you've seen?
I don't know a lot about him. I got to be honest. No, sorry.
I don't know much about the front row apart from we've got a decent front row. Wyn Evans, Mr. Go Compare. Wyn Jones, he's he's had a couple of man of the match performances. He's definitely put his name in the hat. But Sinclair, for me, he's a bit on and off. He's a bit of a loose cannon, and if I think they'd target him. He's one of the men that you could get sent off pretty easily. What are your thoughts on that? Just.
I just think you've got to go with your biggest, meanest, best scrummage in front five, and then just smash the shit out of them, basically. Because if you can do that, you're in the game. If you don't, you don't get beaten up. They'll come at you all day. So I wouldn't know who that person would be. They don't really watch front five players. But that's the key to the series really, is your front five.
So on that philosophy, would you even look at if Sinclair's going, would you take Genge?
I wouldn't take Sinclair, I wouldn't take Genge. I think they're a liability from what I've seen on the pitch. I don't think they're even that strong as scrummagers. If you need somebody to pull the ball back and for backs, great. Sinclair's great because he's played outside half in his junior years. But and with the front row boys, you've got to pick the big boys to do the job up front in the scrum. So that's Furlong, that's Ken, that's Calvin Dickey made it come up for the bench and up the game pace maybe after Ken's done his 50 or 60, and just going to be nasty against them just because they're so big. These boys are massive. I mean, even their open side is as big as our second rows. So you've got to front up. If you don't front up, you've got no chance.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And especially if it's 4 tests and you haven't got much run up to it with midweek games, you've got to know really before you go who's your test side. There's no playing your way in. I think it's Japan. There's another couple of games as well. I know they played Japan, but I'm not sure who else they've got.
The French Barbarians and America as well lined up.
Is that it? Just the 3. What are your thoughts on Roy?
I go with Justin. You need your solid front 5 to allow your back row movement and ball for your backs. Without those front 5, as we found out in the autumn series in Wales, our front 5 was very weak because we were swapping and changing, and we just didn't have the ball. We couldn't control game. We couldn't compete. So yeah, you've got to go for that. I agree with the front row, as you've said. I did like Jamie George, but he seems to have gone out of favour with England. And the Irish hooker, forget his name, but 1 minute he's in, and next minute he was on the bench. So a lot of the Six Nations are undecided about their hookers. So that says a great stuff for Ken. Ken, there's no question about Ken, and he's been playing most of the game time, which is great. His throwing in has been superb. His tackling rate is tremendous. And he's a good singer.
Have you heard him singing?
Yes, but he looks good, doesn't he? His mouth is as wide open as anything.
Yeah, he's got the heart, I'll give him that.
Yeah. Who's the biggest hippo, him or Alan Wynne?
They're both up there. They're both up there.
Yeah.